Hi, today I'm going to talk about weaponizing emotions. And this is a really important topic. These are the finer details that really destroy intimacy in our relationships, within ourselves. And we're going to dive into this because if you get a hold of this, everything transforms. If this is a guiding principle, and this also helps us really work with our brain and give us information about what our brain's doing, where it's struggling, and how we can support it. So, um, I think you're going to like this. Also, it might answer some questions why you feel terrible in certain situations, why you feel guilty, and also give you something that to do about this and to how to rewire this at the nervous system level, up in the subconscious mind, all that good stuff. So, I'm Rachel McLeod. I'm a mental health therapist and emotional wellness coach, and I specialize in helping people do the brain work for resolving symptoms of anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, and also things like having healthy relationships and the brain work for all of these things and reaching our goals, all kinds of fun things I help people accomplish. And I have a specialty in helping people recover from complex PTSD. So that's where I'm coming from. That's my perspective. The brain has a really beautiful process, a natural process for resolving symptoms, and that process can get stopped or blocked. And so it can't go through the process of resolving symptoms for you. And so that's why we have all these symptoms. And so I really specialize in supporting the brain to complete its work and to get that process up and running. And so that's why that's the root of all of the work I do, all of the online courses I offer, is just to support your brain to do the beautiful healing, uh, growth, mastery work it's designed to do and it's capable of doing. And so that's all I'm going to say about that, because I love that topic. I will go right on off on that. But let's dive into what is weaponizing emotions. So, weaponizing emotions is where you take an emotion and you turn it into this weapon, this spear, and you chuck it at somebody, and it usually hits them and causes pain, causes reaction, causes defensiveness, and so that is what it is in general. Okay. Anything that you can, I want to give you this story because I want you to think about this. I'm going to give you some examples here in a second, but this happens differently for each person. This is different for each emotion. We can weaponize shame. We can throw shame weapons at each other. These impact us at the nervous system level, and so they're really powerful. They can create a ton of change. They can do things for us that we don't have the skills to do yet, and they can really serve as protectors. They can serve as helping us get our needs met. We can use this strategy for many things, and it's a really immature strategy. It's developmentally appropriate in earlier years, and we want to be watching our nervous system grow out of this. But when we're talking about things like anxiety, depression, and traumatic stress, we know the brain isn't going through its healing process, so we are going to expect that it hasn't been able to develop things, and so we haven't been able to achieve milestones yet, developmental milestones, and one of them is healthy use of emotions. And so, also communication skills and discussing our needs and wants skillfully and constructively, those haven't been developed. And also, if we come from families where there's generational patterns of weaponizing emotions, you were handed this program out the gate, and so you really haven't had an opportunity to even, you may not even have realized, oh, I should probably upgrade this. I should probably make this develop and grow more. You might not even be aware you're doing it. And so um, it can be really helpful to have a partner here and help you identify this. And I made a video right before this one. You'll find it in my YouTube channel called Weaponizing Observations. It's another form of this. And I talk about some nuances there. And if you and your partner can start developing language around this, you guys can help each other identify this, identify blind spots, and you can work collaboratively and in a really healthy way. And if you can't with them, get a professional, right? This is one thing I'm helping people identify and resolve all the time. And I know there are other of me out there in the world. So, um, So we want to make this conscious, and then we want to help the brain go through its process of maturing it, resolving it, healing it, growing it. So I'm going to talk a little bit more about all the brain stuff, the ideas and the conscious stuff, but there's a rewiring aspect here that we really want to do. But so when we are weaponizing emotions, we might have anger come up, and so we will throw anger balls at people and light them up. And what people end up doing is shielding, right? They're going to get behind their shield and they're going to be like, and they're going to have their shield and then they might back or, and there's a lot of defensiveness in here because you started offensively throwing your anger at them. Guilt, you can take your guilt and you can weaponize people. Oh, well, I guess I'm just a bad person, right? And you can throw that out. That's a little bit more of a defensive strategy, but it's still a weapon. Shields are part of the weapons team. I'm going to just make that up right now. I'm going to include that. So we've also got fear. We can weaponize our fear. I don't have an example of that right now, but it can be done. Feel free to type in the comments examples of weaponizing your fears. Oh, this is also where we will use our fears to control people. We'll say, you can't do that. You can't touch that. It'll bring all the germs in the house. And so our fear is like we're launching it on them so that we can get them to not bring stuff into the house, right? And so we can weaponize sorrow. And so we can get people to back up, come closer, meet our needs with sorrow, weaponizing that. This is not the same thing as healthily sharing emotions. There's so many strategies for constructively sharing emotions and effectively sharing emotions that we don't cross into the line of weaponizing emotions. And so with weaponizing emotions, a lot of times it's a split-second decision. It's a learned behavior. It's in the subconscious programming. Like I said, we may not even be aware, but we're using it for a purpose. Also, this is what I want to happen in your inner world. When anger comes up, this is your energy. It's for you. When an emotion comes through your body, it's your system communicating about what's going on outside of you, what's going on inside of you, and it's trying to talk to the top of the brain, the higher brain states, functions, stations. I talk about stations up there. The energy is trying to get to the top and tell them the report of what's going on. And that's how the top of the brain figures out what's going on, is because they hear from the emotions, they hear from the senses. And so they're listening to all these parts. But if an emotion comes up and it gets flagged in the survival system, so at the top of the brainstem, then the limbic system, and it registers as pain, the survival system is looking for pain, and its job is to keep us surviving. So it reacts in fight, flight, freeze, faint, or fawn, or collapse. And so the energy gets used for one of those things. So fighting, we can fight with the energy, we can flee with the energy, we can freeze, we can all the things. But typically, weaponizing emotions comes from fighting with it. Anger, irritability, frustration, all those things that we're doing right there, shutting down, we can weaponize that too. And so that's not the highest use of our emotions. Our highest use of our emotions occurs after the survival system, get past the survival system, right? And so here, I'm saying that something painful has to move through your system and actually get there and get past the survival system checkpoint. This is why the interventions I use are designed to support the survival system, to allow the healing to happen instead of do the normal pain response, pain reaction. So, but once it gets up there, you get morals, values, reasoning, seeing things from multiple perspectives, holding multiple truths at the same time. You get all these higher brain things going on besides just reaction. I'm throwing this at you. Incoming grenade, right? Emotional grenade, shame grenade at you, right? We want it to make that full journey, because instantly you get all these beautiful things, and your brain begins to rewire and help you to create adaptive, flexible, healthy, constructive responses to the things that are going on in your world. And then if you get to go to these teams, also all that energy gets to move through the word center. I don't know where that is in the brain, but let's say it's right there. It gets to go through that. They put words to it. And then all of a sudden you're prepared to have a healthy conversation about it because your emotions now have been translated and words are to it. And now you can talk about your issue. Many of us can't talk about things because these emotions aren't making it through the process. And so we're having to do what the primates do, the apes do, and we're throwing things at each other and we're being aggressive, passive aggressive. We're weaponizing things. And if we can't get stuff processed, that's what we're going to do. We're going to use our lower animal brain, our mammal brain. And so this is really important. And so a principle here that I like to talk about, it's a truth, and it's not the only truth in the space. So this truth doesn't cancel out any of the other truths. But the truth is, one of the truths are that your emotions are for you. They're not for other people. They're not to clarify your boundaries. They're not to all these things. They're to go through you. Then your brain converts it into actions and responses and things like that. And then you go, okay? So, and then you do the thing you need in a healthy, constructive, higher functioning way. Like somebody who has a gorgeous prefrontal cortex and not apes that have smaller prefrontal cortexes. Right? That we're using these higher functions to really construct our dream life. And these parts of the brain are the only ones that know how to do that. The survival system doesn't. All it knows how to do, it's a specialist in survival. And it only cares about you, keeping you alive. That's its job. So we want to talk with the upper parts of the brain because they can help make health and wellness. So we want to get your emotions running through you. I know. We want you to use your emotions after they've hit the top of the brain, after they've hit the higher brain states. We want to wait for the end product. You know, the emotions come up onto the conveyor belt, they go through the factory. We want to grab them out here after they're coming out of the factory into our hands. This is the high end product. Our nervous system and our survival system will interrupt this thing. We put the stuff on there, it goes up, and we shove it off and we say, no, we're going to use that to weaponize. We're going to throw this at Shelly. We're going to throw this at Billy. Forget waiting for the end point. And in the beginning, when you're walking through this process, it is a process. You can watch things move through your brain's healing process piece by piece. I teach this because if we do this slowly, your brain sees, oh, I had these two parts mixed up. Okay, let me sort these two out. Okay, and we can we can organize this in a way that works well. And then we're going to do it again, and we're going to watch it. It's going to go slow, and it's going to say, oh, okay. Oh, I like this end product a lot better than this early product. Maybe I'll wait. You know, now we're building patience, we're building all these things, but then as it goes through again, it's wiring better. And so from start to finish, it's faster. And so pretty soon you're hearing the interpretation of your emotions, that you're processing your emotions in real time. And so the need to weaponize absolutely reduces. The urge and impulse to weaponize reduces. I don't think we ever get to a perfect place here. Hear me say that, because new emotions are running through us as we experience new things, and sometimes brains wobble with new things. And we should build a new program for that. Yep, let's do it. We need to not weaponize our emotions in this situation, this new situation. We know better than this. Well, let's build it. And so that rewiring is going on in your brain is being more adaptive, flexible, and it's responding to what you need, which is higher ways of functioning than weaponizing emotions. So this is a really important process. Also, this is our process for restoring and resolving and upgrading our relationship with our emotions. There are some people that the factory right here, the anger can't get through. So the survival system's like, well, give me that and we'll just throw it at them, right? And I'm talking about weaponizing emotions. So we're going fight mode here. Or shame. Oh, I can't process the shame I'm feeling. Give me that. I'll just throw it at them. right? And so, and we want to, right here, right when the survival system wants to reach in, we want to be sending the survival system the signals it's looking for to stand out and let this process. And it is very responsive to the safety signaling that we're sending it, because we're talking to the survival system in its native language. That's why the interventions I teach are much different than what we're doing in talk therapy, because we're talking to a new part of the brain. We're talking to the part of the brain that's in charge of stopping this whole factory, right? We want the factory to finish. So we're going to stay out of its way. And we're going to support the survival system. When we see things, emotions moving, or, ooh, I'm not very good with this emotion, so I'm going to help. And we're going to use our safety signaling, our intervention, our preferred intervention, while this emotion is moving through the factory so that it completes and we get the end product. And I am doing this a lot with people because if you're wired only for this part and you actually don't have the neurological wiring for the other, you're not going to get the end product. We have to actually manually operate this to restore the way it's supposed to be in the brain, the highest function in the brain. So, also, if you're noticing people around you are so defensive, you might be weaponizing your emotions. So we don't need to sit here and say, stop being so defensive, right? We could check inside of ourselves. Are we weaponizing emotions? Are we weaponizing observations? What are we doing here? And we could fix this, and you will watch people around you put their stuff down voluntarily. Some people won't, because that's actually, they're wired with their shield intact, their defensiveness intact, and they don't have anything yet, and they don't want anything on a neurological level yet, or they don't have the capacity to build that yet. Might be years or decades or never. But you'll watch a lot of people around you put it down, because the reason they had it there was because you were unconsciously weaponizing your emotions. And this is a maturation thing. This is a maturity thing. And the same brain process that resolves symptoms is the same process our brain uses to mature things. So if our brain isn't resolving symptoms, it's not also maturing things. And so there's going to be things inside of us that are undeveloped and they're immature. And some of them are largely immature, and some of those just have a little gap, right? Just a little gap in maturity. Just help the brain resolve either one of these. Whatever you got going on, we walk your brain through its process of maturing this. You'll watch yourself become so mature in your communication. And you'll watch your brain do it for you. I have people tell me this all the time. Oh my gosh, I said something so well and so kindly. I was like, I would have said this and I said this. And their brain is building this and it's maturing things, right? It's going through review and analysis. It's going through these higher brain states. It's not just staying in survival mode, react. It's actually going through the healing process. Okay. As we're processing things, one of the other things that our brain will create for us is impulse control and self-control. We can know that we need to not weaponize our emotions, but do you have the neurology to help you control the impulse to weaponize your emotions? Do you have the neurology to use self-control and use skills instead of reactions? That's stuff that has to build if the answer is no. Right? And often the answer is no. I want you to be accurate here, because the truth will set you free. If you're like, I don't have it, or I have impulse control here, but over here I don't. That's the area you can help your brain build that. It's just processing. The more you process, the more your brain will build that. And you can focus on that one area and say, right here, brain, and use your intervention of choice, and you'll watch your brain build self-control in there. I had somebody say it like this. They said, I could never pause. It's like they're always talking about pause. And just before you react, just pause. I could never pause. She was wired so her responses and reactions were wired so well by her brain. It was seamless. She couldn't pause. And so process. And then she comes back. It's like, I paused. I had to pause. I still didn't do it right, but I paused. And then we kept processing. Next thing you know, she was being very constructive in that pause. Her brain built out the pause and then said, hey, try this strategy. Hey, try this. And she had this little, her brain became this little tool person behind them, handing her stuff and just coming out of her mouth effortlessly. And so these are brain things. I have so many people that think, oh, I just need to be more self-controlled. I need to do this. You're taking responsibility for your brain's job. Like it's your job. It's not your job. This is your brain's job. I don't want you to get that confused because this is not your job. And this is some of the reasons why we stay ill for a long time because we shame ourselves. Oh, I didn't have self-control. No, your brain hasn't built you self-control there yet. Why don't we stop taking this personally? I'm going to speak directly right now about this. I don't talk like this in sessions, but because these are brain errors. And we want to just correct it. But while we're here, right here, let's not take this so personally. That's also, your brain has to help you not take things personally. That's a brain thing too. But we're just talking. So, let's help the brain walk through its process of creating your self-control. I have no impulse control here. Great. Awesome. You're telling me your brain hasn't built impulse control there yet. Wonderful. Let's help it go through its process of building impulse control there. It'll be fun, right? I also don't say that because people, when they're working with them, are like, we need to build this. Like, yes, we do. Okay. I found out that over here, I don't have self-control and we need to build that. Yes. Okay. And so not only do we need to get the principle of not weaponizing our emotions, not turning our emotions into our weapons, but we also need to have the back parts of it. Okay, now we didn't do that, or now we don't want to, and we have the self-control. Now we have the impulse control. We weaponize our emotions to create change. I don't want them to do this. I'm going to just lash out at them. I don't want them to do that. I'm going to throw a pity party at them. I don't want them to, I want them to start doing this. I'm going to weaponize my disgust, right? I'm just going to make my disgust face, right? And so we're using our emotion to create change for us. And our emotion is actually, this is the principle. This is not all the truths. This is a truth. Our emotions are to create change within us. That's why they're coming to the top of the brain. They want them to know all about it. And the brain will say, oh yeah, we got this. We know how to do this. And it'll be beautiful. Or the brain will say, ooh, thanks for telling us we were corrected. Let's make the corrections, the changes, and you'll watch the behaviors change and you'll respond more adaptively. Brain's job is to help you master your environment. It can't do that if it's not processing. And you will look like you're not mastering your environment. I will look like I'm not mastering my environment. And we have plenty of those. It's part of personal development, growth. Also, we weaponize our emotions to fulfill our needs. Many of us were trained out of talking about our needs in an assertive, safe, secure way. And so we have all these alternate ways of getting our needs met that we might not even be conscious of. And these are also ways of we are wired to do this in a dysfunctional way. And maybe we just haven't had the opportunity to have your brain figure out for you and build a way of meeting your needs in a healthy way. So we'll use emotions to move people, and we'll weaponize those emotions against people: coercion, force, demand, non-consensual movements, and that we're doing with each other and making each other move based on weaponizing our emotions. Okay, and sometimes we're not even aware of what our need is. So it's hard to say, hey, use your skills to meet your needs. I don't know where they are. I don't know what you're talking about. I never had needs. I learned how to have relationships while setting my needs aside. I don't know, right? So we're doing the brain work of repairing that and bringing the needs back in, and then communication, right? But in the absence of all of that health and wellness, your system still has needs, and it's going to get creative, and weaponizing emotions work. And it's a widely practiced exercise. And so we get a lot of training in it, and we just can do it. And it's also very natural to primates. So it comes on the primal package. So also what happens here is that we will weaponize emotions to maintain our boundaries. And this is a very, and so what happens is because we can't communicate them, we can't express our boundaries, we don't know our boundaries, we're not allowed to know our boundaries, we're not allowed to communicate our boundaries will destroy our relationships. Because of all of that, we will have a creative, crafty way of maintaining our boundaries without ever verbalizing them, or because we never learned how to verbalize, we never learned how to express, how to maintain, and how to defend our boundaries. So, so I see this a lot where the boundaries are invisible, but you know they're there. Your partners may not know they're there. All they know is if they do this, you lash out. Your children may not know they're there. If you do this, you lash out. If I do this, mom gets triggered and gets angry, right? If this happens, right? And so we're using our emotions to clarify the boundaries, to express and maintain the boundaries. But we're talking nervous system, survival system to survival system. And so we're putting it into the survival system for people. And that's a really quick way to create change. And it's also so associated, and it takes place a lot with the poverties, emotional poverty, mental poverty, physical poverty, financial poverty, shelter poverty. When we have poverties, we can't afford to take the long route to the executive functioning team. It's slower. It really is. Contemplation, thought, um, exploration, discussion. All those skills are take longer than a lash out. A little sprinkle some shame on that. It'll get them moving. It will. It's faster. Please know we are not stupid. We didn't develop this for no reason. We have histories of going through poverties of some kind. So it's fertile ground for weaponizing emotions. And now we're saying, hey, we're not in survival mode anymore, or I don't want to be in survival mode anymore. Let's take the other route. It's longer, but it's better. Okay. And so, and that means with weaponizing emotions is the fast way. You can really get a lot of stuff done throwing fits and throwing your emotions at people. Supervisors do this, bosses do this, people in leadership positions do this, people in under leadership do this, bodies do this, right? That when your stomach wants to throw up, yeah, your stomach's kind of weaponizing emotions against you. I just thought of that now. We'll have to explore that because I never want anyone to be fighting with themselves or feel like they're at war with themselves. However, it does feel like that, even though your system is trying to communicate. And so it's getting stronger and stronger and maybe making you throw up or nauseous or go to sleep. Those are emotions that aren't moving well. And so I'm debating the belonging of that here, but I think you can understand the heart of what I'm saying and that feeling. Because that stuff in your stomach is also your healing team. So it is what it is. Okay. So, but we want the skills of clarifying our boundaries. That is community. And some environments, like I can't tell you how many people I work with, if they set a boundary to their parent, they'll never see their parent again. Right? I know how many people, if they set a boundary to their partner, they would never see their partner. Like their relationships are just that fragile. They don't hold space for healthy communication. And so the only thing allowed is to weaponize emotions, but then we're weaponizing back and forth and we're using our shield back and forth. That's not real intimacy. That's a bonding dance that's very dysfunctional, unsatisfying, and unfulfilling and harming. So we want to build the skills for these things, and we want skills to make our needs visible and to get our needs met in consensual ways. I call this come through the front door, right? That some people, because we can't be assertive and come through the front door, well, we'll be manipulative, we'll climb through the window, right? No, we're not climbing through the window anymore. Come through the front door. Say it. Express your needs. And so this is a little training principle I use every once in a while. So because part of our boundaries and boundary expression and boundary maintenance, I'm going to respond to that when you come through the front door, right? Not when you're trying to weaponize your emotions and you're trying to sneak in the back door, right? Because you don't have the skills to walk all the way around and come through the front door. Or you think you have special access and you should be able to come through a door I don't want you to come through, right? So when there's lots of nuances in there, and I don't want to get into the weeds. I love the weeds. Okay. Um, okay. I've covered everything on my list. So I didn't give tons of examples of what weaponizing emotions look like because it's really, there's so many fantastically creative ways to do this. But I do want you to understand the principle, and you can watch people around you. Oh, one thing I want to say is that brains don't know the difference between emotional pain, relational pain, and social pain, and physical pain, right? So all of the survival system doesn't differentiate. The pain neurons don't differentiate. They don't say what's happening. They just report pain, 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 and you hear about it in your body. And so when you're throwing your emotions at people, your brain can't differentiate between the sensations of that emotional weapon and being stabbed in the gut physically, right? So when we're weaponize our emotions, our nerves, what we're doing to other people's nervous systems is intense on a nervous system level. And then we say things to each other, oh, you're just being so sensitive. Yeah, those neurons are for real. And until it won't figure out what kind of pain it is until it gets to the top. Those pain neurons in your survival system are responding as if you're being stabbed in the gut, and you're just going to get away from that. It's going to fight to the death. That's why we have so many knockout, drag out verbal conflicts with our precious loved ones. Our survival system is in charge, and it thinks we're being stabbed in the gut. And so we don't want to do that with our relationships. We really want to come through the healing pathways. We want to do logic and reasoning. And the more you get your emotions processed, the more they become logic and reasoning, because they're heavily emotional. And as they go through this factory I was talking about, and as they keep getting processed and processed, the emotions get converted into other things that are going to help you reach your goals. Like, I'm not listing that, but they help you reach your goals. Okay. And as they keep going they're at the end of the factory, they start going through the logic and reasoning centers. And so when they pop out, they're emotionally intelligent and logically intelligent and intellectually intelligent. And so they have both components in there. And so they're really high quality, beautiful things. Right. So, I totally lost my train of thought why I was saying that, but that was important. Let me see if I can find it. Not being able to tell the difference. Yeah, and so if we use our skills, and we're going to have stuff that's emotionally intelligent and intellectually intelligent, and it's easy to digest between us. If we're dropping emotional pain here, it has to make it through past somebody else's survival system, and then go to their logic center. And that means they have to do some work in there. It's extra work and slower and more difficult. And also their survival system might reject it, and then you didn't get your point across anyway. And they're intimacy destroyers. So we're going to see more and more distance. The more these are going on, this is some of the root issues of what's going on with our relationship with our children. This is some of the root issues of what's going on in our relationships. This is also what's going on with our parents, with our coworkers, with our staff. This is a brain thing. This, everywhere you take your brain, this could be a root issue of what's going on there, and why we need to get a hold of this, and we need to upgrade this and make this more functional and more mature. So, and your brain's responsible for that, right? We don't do the brain's work because then it doesn't get stronger, and then we got a weak brain we got to drag around, and it's like a lead ball. So, having said that, what I want to encourage you to do, this is just a concept that has a ton of nuances in it, and all of them have to make it through your healing pathways. So I invite you to try my 3 favorite interventions for inner world transformation. And in my free program, Interventions for Inner World Transformation, I share my 3 favorite interventions that work specifically for the survival system to get it to allow healing to happen, to stop blocking the healing process and the processing process. So try that. And if you like them, keep them in your back pocket, use them a lot. If you don't, throw them out, keep looking. But we want a way to influence your brain very intentionally. If you have one of those interventions online, I invite you, and you're like, what else can I do with this? That's exactly what my program, Inner World Transformation, is about. And it's about walking people through the nuanced work, layer by layer, and resolving symptom by symptom, challenge after challenge, stressor after stressor, to create growth, health, wellness, and dream life creation, really. So, because that's one of your brain's jobs, make your dream life happen. So we help it with that process. So, and that process also helps us become more emotionally well and mentally well, because more fulfillment really feels good. Anyway, also I do this work one-on-one and in small groups, and I also do personalized consultations. All the information, the links to all of these programs are in the description below in this video and on my website. So I invite you to start something. Take this deep and get those weaponizing emotion habits matured. Get them processing and maturing, and really help you open those doors to healthy, effective communication. You will be so impressed with yourself, which is fun. And you'll be so impressed with the transformation in your relationships. So I hope you enjoyed this. I will see you around. Take care.